Morning, everybody, and welcome to the Customs webinar. We're on time, but we just want to give a minute or two to allow some people to connect. Okay, so welcome everybody. This is the kickoff session of the Customs webinar for 2024. The intention of the webinar today is to inform all of you, our clients, of the next steps that need to be taken to have a streamline and compliance with Customs. We are going to go through a specific agenda this morning, and I will be supported by Kathy Swart and Russell McKenzie, who are the Senior Customs Specialists at DSV. We will be going through the details of the presentation. We'll go through e-filing, AEO drawbacks, an industry update about APN, Customs predictive risk process, tariff classification, and single window, with a wrap-up of the action items. And at the end, we'll also have opportunity for a Q&A session. So please do post your questions as we go through the presentation. Also note the presentation will be made available to you all via your account manager with a handout with all the links of the details that we are going to discuss today. So I'm going to now hand over to Kathy Swart to start off with the e-filing.
Thank you, Natalie, and thank you to all our clients and colleagues joining us for our Customs webinar 2024. So the question is, what do you as our clients need to do? The first step in your journey with SARS as a trader is to ensure that if you have onboarded onto the SARS e-filing system. This system is an easy platform to allow you as a trader or our clients or as an individual to comply with the tax obligations for both tax and customs. Your systems administrator on e-filing, which is usually your tax person for the organization, will complete the onboarding or provide the necessary rights to an authorized person within your organization to complete the onboarding. You as an onboarded trader will then be able to apply for and manage all your products on the e-filing system. It's also a secure online system with a simplified registration process, which ensures the capturing of accurate information with regards to your organization. Now, how do you as a trader onboard in terms of the customs side? The Customs Trader Portal, in short the CTP, allows for you as a trader and our clients to register a license or apply for accreditation of all client types, for example, as an importer or as an exporter, even as your rebate stores, your bond stores, etc. It further allows you to submit amendments, cancellations, or renewal of licenses where applicable. These applications can be viewed and managed through the receipt of notifications via the RLA inbox on the CTP portal, which we already mentioned is the Customs Trader Portal. The Relationship Management module, which is the RMM, provides traders with a secure online solution to manage their trading relationships with their preferred clearing agent or freight forwarder for all client types registered with Customs. The relationships can also be created. You can cancel, you can accept, or you can reject relationships on this platform. These relationships can also be viewed and managed through the receipt of notifications via the RLA inbox on the CTP portal. Traders are also notified via email when applying for any type, a client type or relationship disclosure. This email information will be the email address that was linked to the first RLA onboarding process that you have completed. Further enhancement on the e-filing system was to automate the drawbacks and the refund, as well as the inclusion of the automated AEO accreditation application process, which was implemented on the 8th of December. We as DSV have already assisted several of our clients with the RLA onboarding process, as well as the RMM disclosure during 2023. We will now have a look at the enhancements mentioned earlier. So the first one is the authorized economic operator. What is it? In short, it is the AEO. So what is the AEO? It's an international recognized quality mark that shows the DSV role in the international supply chain and secure and has customs control procedures that meet AEO standards and criteria. There are two levels. Level 1, which is your compliance level and has to do with your processes that's in place. Level 2 is your safety and security, which makes sure that your security are in place in the supply chain and alleviating risk. DSV, as you can see, are already accredited in 50 countries globally, and all DSV entities in South Africa, which includes DSV Air and Sea, Road, Sky Services and Solutions, have level 1 and 2 AEO status. The AEO accreditation, as you notice, that is for 5 years. However, it is very important that you ensure that you do self-assessment to prove you have all your processes in place and are maintaining compliance at all times. A client relationship manager, which is the CRM, is appointed by SARS to DSV for each DSV legal entity to facilitate the relationship between DSV, us, and SARS, as well as educating us about the accreditation program, including informing information pertaining to what is expected from DSV as an AEO accredited client in terms of meeting the accreditation criteria. When our clients apply for AEO status, their partnership with DSV will be an advantage as we already have AEO status. We encourage every single client to apply for the AEO status. Several of our clients have already received communication with regards to the AEO from SARS, as you are DSV clients. And then the second enhancement in terms of the improvement on the e-filing system is the automation of the refund and drawbacks. In short, it's the ARD. Being onboarded onto e-filing and disclosing your relationship with DSV as your preferred trader partner, the processing of your drawbacks are submitted and completed on a digitalized online system, monitoring and notifications sent through via e-filing are quick, it's easy, claim status are visible, and ensuring work with and through stakeholders to improve the tax ecosystem. I will hand over now to Natalie, who will discuss the advance import payments. Thank you, Natalie.
Thank you very much, Kathy. So in the course of last year, well, for the last 2 years, the advanced import payment process has been in place, But in particular, last year, the APM was officially implemented with authorized dealers. This is AKA your banks that you deal with. To kick it off in simplistic terms, an advanced import payment is a foreign payment done to your supplier before you've done your customs declaration. So this has been implemented for a number of reasons, but obviously it is to make sure that SARS, as well as the South African Reserve Bank, are able to link the foreign payments made outside of the country to a relevant import. So in that sense, you will apply for the APN on the e-filing, and then you will provide it to your bank for the payment. This needs to be done within a 30-day time period, otherwise it expires. Then the one big thing that you need to do is provide DSV on your clearing instruction. Under the special instructions, if you've got an APN number for that particular shipment, so that we can reflect it on your customs declaration. Being reflected on the customs declaration, then what it does is it feeds through to SARS. SARS then will report and feed that information back to the South African Reserve Bank, and ultimately it will acquit the payment. It will match up, which is quite key to make sure that you have the correct valuations and that there is a tracing of the monies. On the slide, you'll see some of the details. What is the advanced import payment notification? The main reason for it is combating the illicit financial flows and customs valuation fraud. So there has been a lot of focus on this over the years, and obviously there has been a lot of illicit financial flows. So this is the means to make sure that all payments are accounted for. For a number of clients on the call, you may have already done the process, as it was officially implemented the 1st of December with the authorized dealers. However, if you haven't as yet, you should be able to see it on your e-filing, and there's a section on the APN. We will be giving out a handout at the end with via your account managers that gives you all the links to the SARS website that goes into the details on this particular point. I did attend both sessions that SARS actually conducted on this particular point, and there's a lot of scenarios from our different clients of where an APN is required, but there's also a lot of scenarios where it's not required. So it is an individual basis of your work and your operation, but the key thing is give your APN number through to us. Done the payment so that it can be linked to a declaration. If it isn't, then SARS will create a case, and then it'll be investigated as to why you've done a foreign payment, but yet it's not substantiated with a customs declaration. The one other area of focus is customs predictive risk process. This is a project that Customs are focusing on this year in particular. They've already embarked on some of the technology enhancement. It is intended to be done via an AI tool, so bringing into the artificial intelligence with regards to zoning in on clients, also the trade that possibly is illicit. It'll also assist them to identify under-evaluation, misclarification, and the rules of origin. So your big three that you do on a customs declaration. That is why we also encourage everybody to apply for your AEO status, because you'll be a lesser risk profile when this actually comes into place. A lot of the risk then is calculated through the supporting documents. And if that is not sufficient to substantiate the case, then that's where your customs stops come into play. So the big question to everybody is, what can you do to possibly prevent that? And that is to be prepared with all your documentation prior to the shipment being done, and to be on hand that if the supporting documents are requested. There's a standard set of documents that get requested, But we also want to appeal to our clients to say, if you have got specifics, so some of your OGA, your other government agency documents, so say from the NRCS, if you've got that on hand, to rather provide it to us as well for your particular shipment, because the more we have on hand and support and give through to customs, the less chance that it won't be, that'll go onto a customs stop. Part of this program as well is Customs have a cadet program. In the course of last year, in actually June 2023, they had deployed 38 cadets that have been trained up as customs officers. And then also to support this further, there is another 37 that is expected to be deployed in June 2024. I think that this is actually a great, for us that are compliant and we want to be able to facilitate our trade. I think that this is a great initiative from the SARS, because then they can zone in onto those particular traders that are not compliant. So quite a good initiative that comes from the SARS. So rolling on from that, we thought we'll zone in a little bit on the tariff classification that DSV totally supports our clients on. And then just to give a little bit of detail with regards to it and what we should be looking out for. So on this particular slide, we've done some examples. It's an extract from the tariff book, as well as an extract from the prohibited and restricted list. So what we want to illustrate here is, first of all, the first heading is your 6 digits, which is harmonized globally. So on this particular one, it is only 6 digits. So for your sugars, and there you can see as well, the statistical unit is kilograms. And then the rate of duty for all the trade agreements is free. We then, therefore, this particular one would not have the risk profile of rules of origin because it doesn't necessarily apply. So, and then we want to go down to the antibiotics. So we chose that because even if it's not your field, pretty much everybody knows about antibiotics. So what you can see from the illustration here is you've got the chapter 29 and then breaking it down to the header of 41. Again, gets broken down further to the penicillins, and then it gets broken down further to the broad spectrum, which is for human use or for animal use. Now there you can see it's an 8-digit code. Now that's your South African tariff code. That again, we do need to have upfront, make sure we've got it in place so that when we are processing your customs declarations, that this doesn't become under dispute when for your shipment as it is moving. Again, focusing on trade facilitation. The one other thing that we want to highlight here is that on this header, the 2941, then you've got your OGA, the port health, and so there will be required documentation to substantiate this. That's the type of documentation that we want on hand so that we don't actually have delays with your shipments. So the other one point is that usually you would probably find the penicillins come in vials, you know, like an injection, but you can see again here that the statistical unit is kilograms. Now that's what you would need on your documentation for a correct clearance to be done. So we want to highlight this all to our clients to say that this is, you know, the complexity of your tariff classifications. What we as DSV support on all of this, in particular for your customs clearance, we support with tariff determinations. So this is more of a simplistic example, but you know, some of your products might be a little bit more tricky and possibly a tariff determination would be best. Then also on the AEO support, and what is also meant by that is part of your AEO application is you will validate how you get to your tariff classification. And there we would support that process by clarifying that between yourselves and us as DSV, we've clarified, we've done a proper self-assessment of getting to your tariff classification. And if there is any dispute resolution, appeals or litigation, we can also support there where required. I'm now going to hand over to Russell, who's going to take us a little bit further on the single window and the OGAs.
Thank you, Natalie. Yeah, another one of SARS's initiatives that they're working on in the forthcoming time is what is referred to as the single window. Single window is a project that is being administered between SARS and the Border Management Agency, or the BMA. It is an attempt to streamline communication and operations within a border post, in that what we experience currently now between SARS and the other government agencies is a very linear, outdated analog process where hard copy documentation needs to be sent to these various OGAs in order for cargo to be released. Natalie mentioned one previously, which was Port Health, for instance. We would have to send Port Health hard copy documents. They would in fact go and examine the cargo and would then provide an extended release. What Single Window seeks to do is to harmonize these operations digitally between the other government departments and SARS. One must bear in mind SARS is empowered to, one of their functions is to detain cargo on behalf of other government departments. The Single Window in its current iteration is being rolled out between DALRID, or SARS, and the Departments of Land Reform and Rural Development. They have intimated that Port Health would be next. I'd also like to cover a couple of other OGAs, but these OGAs sit outside of SARS's current trade offerings. The first government department is the National Regulator for Compulsory Specifications. They are mandated by the Department of Trade and Industry to oversee the import and regulation of goods that are subject to the published compulsory specifications. A rough example would be any electrical goods that are imported into South Africa. Another one is paraffin primer stoves. These are all subject to testing and or quality specifications where the NRCS seek to promote, as it says there, public health, safety and environmental protection. There is more to it than that, in that the importation of goods subject to a compulsory specification are subject to a letter of authority from the NRCS. These letters are to be in place before cargo is imported. The way that we can assist you in understanding what lies ahead is, as Natalie mentioned, in terms of talking about the tariff classification. Tariff classification is vital because it determines, or is the backbone or the DNA against which other schedules in the Customs Act are linked, and also similarly other prohibitions and restrictions are linked. So if we could get out ahead of your tariffing and not be tariffing at time of shipment, so much more the better, because we could see speed bumps coming, rather than tariffing and finding out regulatory controls when the shipment is live and about to arrive, or has arrived and is now needing to be cleared. Linked to the NRCS's regulatory function is the collection of levies that are payable to the NRCS. They don't give you these letters of authority for free. You pay a quarterly, I believe it's a quarterly return in terms of the levies, based on a levy value per number of items or per 10 items, whatever the levy dictates. So it's not only about having the LOAs, it's also about keeping track of your sales and similarly paying over to the NRCS the levies that are due to them. They are also obviously continually sharpening the saw, and thus new compulsory specifications could be around the corner. One never really knows. The other government department, who we also classify as another one of the enforcement type organizations that potentially can take or detain your cargo, is the South African Police Services. We find their activities mostly confined to the Port of Durban, and to a lesser extent the Heidelberg Weighbridge and City Deep itself. They generally enforce their detentions either through manifest targeting or by direct roadblock. We have both for the NRCS and the SAPS, we have what is called a pre-verification time window. What that allows us to do is to provide them with all the supporting documents relevant to the detention that they've imposed. What we try and do, and what we work hard at in that 48-hour window period, is to provide as much information to try and eliminate the container from inspection completely. We have had certain success in terms of out-and-out elimination. Where we, for whatever reason, are not able to respond to those detentions within 48 hours, it almost always leads to a mandatory detention. What we find is that the NRCS and the SAPS generally work in a tag team configuration, where the SAPS will examine goods for their own reason, i.e. In terms of the Police Act, the Counterfeit Goods Act, or the Drugs and Drugs Trafficking Act. But if they find nothing and notice that potentially something in the container could be relevant to the NRCS, they hand those matters over to the NRCS. And similarly, when the NRCS in the course of their investigations or inspections find goods that they believe are relevant to the SAPS, they will then pass that back. So that effectively sort of increases their span of control and increases the likelihood that by their random targeting or their targeting specifically, you would get caught up by one or the other. The cost of compliance around these two entities is very high. The containers almost always go to a container depot and are subject to a full unpack. That obviously incurs charges in terms of handling. There's obviously additional charges in terms of storage. And the cost of compliance around these two entities is very high. What we are hoping is that in time, and mentioning and coming back to the SARS single window, we would not have to have a scenario where we are a small fish swimming past three sharks. We would like to make one declaration at once, and hopefully if everything is as it should be and there's no disharmony between the likes of SARS, SAPS, and the NRCS, that the use of technology would ultimately free up the supply chains, reduce the cost of compliance, hopefully assist SARS in achieving their customs to business strategies, and then obviously ultimately helping SARS assist in their customs to customs responsibilities. I think the only other thing that gets left to be said about the SAPS specifically is that we have a lot of success in having containers pulled from inspection where they are FCL cargo types. We unfortunately, we battle with LCL and groupage cargo types because the police see a LCL or a groupage not as individual importers in the container, but only once each of the parts in the container have been released will they then release the entire container. There are no part releases, unfortunately, for FCL, I mean for LCL and groupage. So we're still struggling a bit with that, but we're working on it and we're hoping to have some success there too. I think that pretty much covers what I wanted to share with you this morning, and I will be handing you back to Natalie. Thank you, Natalie. Back to you, Natalie.
Thank you. Sorry about that, everybody. Okay, can you all hear me?
Yes, we can, Natalie.
Thanks very much. Okay, so to wrap up from what Russell and Kathy has gone through, presenting on the projects that SARS have, I just want to show you there that it is a bit of the summary of what we've already gone and spoken about today. But this is from SARS themselves that was presented in their strategic session at the end of last year for their focus for this year. So on the particular presentation, you'll see that it says Smart Border. Okay, then you can also see that it says AIP. That is one of the ones that we went through around the APN, the single window that Russell has so nicely given us a lot of detail about, the IT connectivity, the Cadet program, and then the customs predictive risk process. So this is what they are focusing on for 2024 to enable and facilitate trade. Then the other detail that we have here as well is the action items that we need all of you to have a look at. So as on the summary here, it is ensure you are onboarded onto e-filing for all client types. Ensure you have linked the RMM to DSV. Ensure you apply for the AEO status. Ensure you have implemented your tariff process with DSV, aligned with your processes, and also ensure all your documentation for restrictions, OGA, is on hand with DSV. So this is also all prior to clearances, preferably. A reminder that we will be sending out the presentation via your account manager. We also have the handout that has a lot of the links to the SARS websites that supports with those processes as well, for any of you that are still struggling. And we are also here for support as well, having gone through the processes ourselves. So now we're just going to end up with the questions and answer session. So, right. So I know that it's been being posted out. And I'll just go through some of them. Okay, so
hi, Natalie. I'm
Hi.
just going to read the question out to you here.
Thank you.
So it says, in future, will single window rollout be internationally as well?
I would say no, not at this stage. It is obviously within the jurisdiction of South Africa, so whatever they can roll out currently. An example of something that they've had a challenge with is the SADC being automated. In actual fact, Beyers Tehran announced in the strategic session that actually is on hold because they're dependent on other countries. So at the moment, I would say that it is actually very much South African based. And then only once it's been developed, could it potentially be rolled out internationally.
Great. And then another question that we just have is, will the case be investigated before clearance is authorized, i.e., can we expect delays in clearances which do not reflect APN number?
Okay. So the APN number is the responsibility of the importer to give it through to us so that we can put it on the customs declaration. It will not delay any customs declaration, as we wouldn't know, or SARS at that stage, they don't know that an APN number for that shipment is required. What it is required for is that you have it acquitted against your payment that you made. The one thing that I will also say is please make sure that we have it up front and we can put it on the declaration. However, if you did find out that you forgot, a VOC, so an amendment, can be done. The one thing that you do want to make sure of, though, is it is done within the 4 months of you making the payment. Otherwise, the case by SARS will be raised, and then they'll start to investigate why that payment can't be linked.
Great. Thank you so much, Natalie. Those are the 2 questions that we've had for this session, and some of the others have been answered.
Thanks very much. Okay, so then just in wrap up, I hope that you found today's session informative. We just want to continuously reiterate to reach out to your account manager for any assistance, as we are here to support. We've gone through all these processes ourselves as a company, and we also, you know, if we don't know the answer, we'll know where to guide you to. So thank you very much to everybody that attended today.